Hello class. In this video I want to introduce you to Strapi, which is a great headless CMS. And if you don't know what that is, quickly, a headless CMS is like a traditional content management system like WordPress. The only difference is that headless, meaning that it does not have a front end. It has only the API, which can be a REST API or a GraphQL API or whatever, which allows you to interact with your data, create data and manage it there. And then you fetch it, and then you can use any tool to create your front end however you like it. And what's great about Strapi is that it comes with so much functionality right out of the box, and it's completely customizable, and you have that code base there, and then you can deploy it wherever you want, which gives you this amazing freedom. It's completely decoupled from any cloud system or whatever. It's completely your code, and it's really easy to get started with it. Speaking of get started, let's do exactly that. And to do that, we click the button that says get started. So we can, as you can see, you can just hit this one command and it will actually scaffold everything and start your app. So let's copy this. I'm going to copy the npx one, and let's go to our terminal, wherever you want to put this project, and we just paste that in. And here we have this create Strapi app, and then we can call it anything here. I'll just leave this my project, and then we leave this quick start flag, which installs dependencies and sets up our scaffolding, and then it actually starts it straight away. All right, so I'm just going to wait for it to do all of that. All right, so now it's done building the app. As you see, it launched us into the admin area. As you can see here, localhost 1337/admin. And here we have to create our admin user. So let's do that. So I'm just going to say here admin. And for email, I'll say admin@email.com. Just give it a password. Repeat that password and hit enter. And there we go. This is the admin area of Strapi. And here you can manage anything. What's beautiful about Strapi is that you can create here your database models. You can create your users and permissions, or actually just manage them, and then do all of that. And as you do that, it actually modifies your code in the background so that those changes persist. And then when you share your code or you deploy it on a server, those changes will still be there. So as you see, by default, we have this up here, this collection type user. And a collection type basically is kind of like a database model. Think of it that way. So we have users, and notice we don't have our admin user in this list because this is the end user users, not the admins. And we can start to actually create data straight away. So here we can click on add new users. Let's add a dummy user. So here I'll say John for username, John@email for email, and password, I'll just say 1 through 6. And here we can tick on for confirmed. That's one of the nice things about Strapi as well, is that it comes with a lot of functionality. And one of it is actually sending confirmation emails to your newly registered users. So here, let's hit save. So important to always hit save on your changes. So now if we go back to our users, we indeed see that user there. So let's create more content types and more data to consume. So let's say we want to create a blog, right? That's a perfect example for doing any CRUD app. So to do that, let's go to our content type builder. And here, as you see, we already have 3 types here, the user, role, and permission. We can create a new one by clicking here, create new collection type. And by the way, there are single types and components, but let's ignore those for now. So let's go again to create new collection type. And here I'll call this post for blog post, hit continue. And we can add fields. So I'm going to add a text field, and this will be the title. So let's call it title. And I'm going to click add another one, and let's do rich text. And this will be the body of the post. And actually I'm done. So I'm just going to close this. And now we can hit save. And now it actually rebuilds everything and then restarts the server. And there we go. We have posts up here. And of course we can create new posts. So here, let's create a post. Let's call this new, or maybe first post. And for the body, I'm going to say first post body, and hit save. And now that's created. So to interact with this data, with this API, we simply we grab this base URL, this localhost 1337, and we go to a new window, paste that, and then say /posts, hit enter. And we actually get a 403 response. And that's not a mistake. That's meant to be like that. And by the way, this is JSON formatted Chrome extension if you're wondering. Now, we need to change this. Resources by default in Strapi are hidden away, which obviously is a good practice. So we need to override, let me zoom out this. We need to override some permission thingies. So let's go to settings. And here in settings, we can manage a bunch of things. One of them is this roles under users and permissions plugin. And if we go to roles, you see that we have two default roles, the public, which is self-explanatory, and the authenticated, which is a default role that is given to any user that authenticates. So if we go to public, which we are in right now, we scroll down, and here you see in permissions under application, we have our content types, which so far we only have the post. And now we can enable certain actions. So we can enable, in this case, find one and find, which by the way, find gets all and find one does exactly that. And now if we hit save here, and if we go back here and refresh, we indeed see an empty array, which is actually interesting because we created a post. Oh, okay, my bad. We did create a post, but posts by default have this draft and publishing system. So you actually have to create publish here for it to be visible. And there we go. Now that post is visible. That's a mistake that I would have liked to be staged, but it happened anyway. So that's cool. All right. So now let's say actually we want to connect our posts to our users, and we want to have like, let's say we want to have tags, like an actual blog will have tags. That's easy. We just create new fields and we can edit our content types. So we just go to content types builder again, and we go here, create new collection type. I'm going to call it tag, and let's go continue. And here we can actually add a, actually let's add the regular fields first. So we have a text field, which will be the name of the tag. And we'll add another one, and this will be the relation field. And the relation is exactly that. It's a relation between the custom or the content types that we have. So in this case, a post can have multiple tags, and a tag can also belong to multiple posts. So this will be called a many-to-many relation. Actually, let's select here the model. So hit this drop down and select the post content type. And here we select this many-to-many button. And let's leave these default names. So now we just say finish and we hit save. And there we go. Just like that, Strapi has created this tags collection, and it also created a pivot table in the background that links this posts and tags. So if we go to tags and we add, let's say, what do we have? Let's say we have a tag for cooking. It's a blog, right? So let's say, actually we have a publish system here as well. So we can actually just remove that. So if we go to tag here in the content types, and we go to, actually let's click this edit button next to the name of it. And if we go to advanced settings, we can disable this draft publish system. So disable it, yes, disable, and hit finish. So now when we create tags, we don't have to publish them. They're straight away published, which makes sense. So let's say we had cooking, we'll have coding, of course. And let's say, I'm just going to create another one here. Let's say we have one that's called home, and we just save. And now let's say we go to our posts and we select this first post. Let's say we want to add some tags to this post. So we just go here to tags. What is this? I'm just going to give it coding and then save. And now if we fetch our post again, there we go. We actually get tags, and it's in its own array because of course we can have multiple ones per post. That's how easy it is. Now I want to add one thing. Obviously every post has a user that posted it. So that's if we go to our content type builder, we can easily just go to post and add another field. So here, click add another field and go to relation. So this will be, yeah, actually it's this one. So here if we select from the drop down, we go to, make sure to select user from user's permission and not user from admin. So select that user. And here, no, actually it's this, it has one. It's not, or actually no, let's go, it's the has many because that's the type of the relation. So here for the field name, I'm just going to call it user. And click finish and then click save. And now if we go to our posts, we click on this post, you see that it has this user field. So we can, from the drop down, select John. Let's say John posted this, and we save. And again, if we refresh this, there we go. We get that user, and the user is attached to that post. Brilliant. Now let's say we want to log in through the API and create a post that way, because obviously in the real world, we're not going to be creating posts from here. We're going to have our users create our posts from any front end, like a web app or a mobile app interacting with this API. So I'm going to open Insomnia, and here I'm going to go let's create a new request here, and I'll call this login, and this will be a post request. And you can check the documentation. I know that the login will be to HTTP localhost. Actually, let's add that to our environment. So I'm just going to add that here. So base environment, I'm just going to add a variable here. So I'll call it base underscore URL. And as you saw earlier, it's actually HTTP : // localhost 1337, hit done. And here I'm just gonna say, here do like double curly braces, base underscore URL. And you can use Postman as well, obviously it's the same. So here we'll do slash, and to log in we need to go to /auth/local. And obviously we need to send a post body. So here let's select JSON, and we're gonna send, we need two things. So we need an identifier, which in our case is the email. So this will be the john@email.com. And we need obviously the password, which I set up as 1 through 6. Of course, make sure to use the credentials that you use to create that user. So if we run this, that took a while, but there we go. So we get our response. We get a JWT token, our user, and our user's posts without doing anything. Like it's straight away there for us, which is really cool. And now we can create a post. So I'm actually going to duplicate this and call this create post. Maybe actually put this in a folder. So I'll call this posts quickly and then chuck it there. And it will just be create. Let's be organized. And here we just send a post request to /posts. And by the way, if you're confused, you can just go to the documentation and go to actually concepts. Is it routing? Yeah, there we go. So routing, it tells you here for any resource, you have where the routes are, and then you have by default, where can we see that actually? Okay, maybe it's controllers. Yeah, go to controllers. Yeah, by default, we have these find one, count, create, update. Okay, scrap that. That's not the best. Actually, if we go to our settings and then we go to roles here, just to check. Yeah, so here, if you look at the permissions for posts and we click on this, it tells us that we need to send a get to this, and to create, we just send a post request to /posts. In case you get confused, you can just come here to see those endpoints. All right, so let's go back. Go back to Insomnia. And to create our post, we just send those fields. So we have, what do we have? We have a title, and here we'll say new post from John, for example. And for the body, we're just gonna say new post from John body. And if we send this, oh yeah, we're gonna get 403. So of course, that's the intended behavior. So we need to change these permissions, but not in the public role. Let's go to the authenticated role. And now in the post permissions, we need to enable the create. So we have the create. Actually, let's enable all. And by the way, there's one inconsistency that you have to be aware of. If we don't enable find, I'll just show you. So if we don't enable find and find one, and we just enable the rest, and we just save on the authenticated, and we go back to Insomnia. Let me take that token again. So let's copy that JWT and go to the auth header. So here select, where is it? Bearer token, and paste that token in. And send this request. Oh, okay, of course we get successful for this because I forgot to change the endpoint. Anyway, so that's the post created. So if we duplicate this, let's say this is the read. So this will be just get without a body. So now if I send this, we get forbidden. And if I disable the token, we actually get the data. So this, I don't know if this behavior is intended, but it kind of doesn't make sense because if you're authenticated, you should already have access to the public ones. But I don't know, maybe it serves a purpose. But anyway, we can get around that by enabling those functions or those actions on the authenticated role as well, and then save, and it will work as intended. So now if we run this with the token enabled, we still get our posts. And as you saw, we were able to create this post, and that was successful. Now, if you notice that here we have a user, but it says null, it does not have a user. Now, Strapi by default does not associate any models with your created content type instance. It just creates that content type instance or that record based on the fields that you gave it. Now, this is where we can go and actually customize the code to make this happen. Now, you notice we did like already a bunch of things without writing a single line of code, which is brilliant. So let's, I'm going to go, where's the terminal? So here in the terminal, I'm actually going to stop this. Yes. And I'm going to open that with VS Code. So what was that? That was, yeah, this my project. So code, my dash project, and hit enter. And I'm actually going to close this. We don't need this anymore. So we have a bunch of folders here. Let's not worry about most of them. Well, let's go to this API folder. And if you notice, we already have a post and a tag folders, which were created when we created those content types. And inside each of them, we have this config, which has our routes, which we can edit obviously, and it has a controller, which we'll come back to, and it has this model post.js, and then it has this post.settings, which is the attributes of the model, and then it has this service file as well. As you notice, all of these files are empty, which you might be wondering why. And the reason why is that the functionality is behind the scenes, and it's actually in the Strapi packages. It's built behind the scenes. And if we want to customize it, we simply override this any of the methods or files that we want. And what's nice about Strapi is that in every one of these files, we have this link to the documentation. So if we control click this, we get thrown into exactly the documentation for this file, which in this case is the post controller. And here it tells us, for example, here it tells us all the functionality that we have by default, the actions. And if we want to customize, let's say in this example, we wanted to customize the create so that it associates the user with the post that was created. We simply go, let's go to the documentation, go here to collection type create, and we just copy this async create function and then go back to our code. And inside this module exports object, we just paste that in and we just update the logic. So we want to add the user, right? There's a middleware by default that's actually passing the user from the authentication token that we added as a header and adds it to our context state. And if actually this context syntax confuses you a bit, this is based on Koa. Don't worry about it too much. It's almost very similar to, in many ways, to Express. So to get the user, we can actually say const user, put it in a variable, and this will be inside the context.state.user. And because this route is only available when we're authenticated, we know for a fact that this user will always be there. So now we need to add this user to the data when it's created. Now there are two places where it's created, for multi-part requests, which we'll come back to later, and for regular requests. So we need to add it in both. So here where we create, by the way, we need to change this restaurant to post. So select all of them and change it to post, because that was an example from the documentation. And we need to change it to our model, which is post in this case. So here where we create to data, we simply, let's make it an object and then spread that data and then add on top of it the user. And it's actually our user ID. You don't give the object itself, you just give the reference field. So here we say user, and that's user.id. Or we can actually just remove that and then here say it's user, it's context.state.user.id, and then just give it as user there. Now let's do the same over here. So let's make this an object and spread the context.request.body, which contains the title and the body of our post, and then do comma and add user and close that object. And now if we save this, and actually because I stopped that terminal, we need to start it again. So I'm going to open a terminal here and say npm run dev, and oh, missing script. Let's check the package.json. Oh yeah, by default it has this Strapi develop as develop. But I'm just actually, oops, what is this? What did I click? I actually launched it with the GUI. Anyway, so I'm going to actually rename it to dev, because that's kind of like what I'm used to. Not that big of a difference. All right, so, okay, it started, but I got an exit code. So I'm just going to actually break out of that. And then here say npm run dev. All right, so our app has started again. So now if we go back to Insomnia, and now if we go back to create here, we have our token, our bearer token, and we do another one. So here we'll say another post from John. And here, I don't know, we just say another post body. Let me add an A here. Run that. Okay, we get a 500 internal server error. Let's check what's happened. Okay, so here we get reference error, sanitized entities not defined. Let's check our code. So it's this. Oh, okay, we probably needed to import these. Yeah, okay, we need these import statements at the top, my bad. So just copy those and paste that there and save. And as you save, it restarts automatically, which is nice. So now if we go back to Insomnia, this time it should work. Run this, and there we go. So our post was created and our user was attached to the post. Cool. By the way, bear in mind, every time you send a post through the API itself, it's automatically set as published. So you need to edit your settings if you want that behavior to be different. Now if we get our posts, we'll get this new post added at the bottom. Cool. And to get just this post, we can grab the ID and duplicate this. I'll call this find one, create that, and then say /post/ and paste that ID, which is 4. And now we get just that post. Now to show you a bit more about how you can easily customize your business logic in your Strapi app, I want to actually create a slug for our posts and not have to fetch our post by ID, which obviously is a bad practice. So we can easily do that. We can just go back to our admin panel. So to our admin, here where we have our content type builder, let's go to our post and we can add another field. And here, let's add, so here this unique identifier field, because slugs are usually unique. So here, but there's already an example here that says slug, and we can say slug here. And here, this is interesting. We can attach a field to it and we can say finish and save. But now if we actually create a post here, let's say another, I don't know, I'm running out of like names. Okay, let's do an actual post. How to make an omelette. Just crack eggs on a frying pan. Okay, that's enough. Okay, so you see already has a slug here, which is nice, which is a slug of this title. And if we add, let's add a user, John, and some tags, cooking, maybe also home, and save, and also publish. Now we're gonna get, if we go to our post, we're gonna get that post, and we're gonna get that slug attached to it. But if we create another one here programmatically, I'm just gonna add some like Z's here, just to make it different. Gonna get a post back, but with a null slug. So that's a bit interesting. The slug system does not work through the API. It just works through the admin panel. But we can customize our code and make it actually generate a slug every time a post is created. So I believe there's a guide for that in the documentation. So let's go. I'm just gonna search here, slug. Yeah, create a slug system. So here, scroll down. Yeah, there we go. So here it shows us how to update our model file and give it these lifecycle methods. So before create and after, or actually before update as well, we create this slug or update it. So that's nice. Let's copy the bookshelf code. Actually, they're kind of identical, but whatever. Let's copy this one. Let's go to our code base, go to our Explorer, and then go to models, post, and paste those inside of here. Actually, I grabbed the whole thing, so just paste this instead of all of that. I'll put this at the top, and we actually need to install this. So open the terminal. Okay, we broke our code, but it's fine. We'll fix it. So let's say npm install and install Slugify and let that install. And now every time a post is being created or updated, a slug is created from the title. Let's open our terminal and start our app again. So npm run dev. I don't know why I'm getting these warnings now after installing Slugify, but I'll ignore that for now. So let's check now our endpoint. And now if we create this, another one, I'm just going to say another post 3, and then here say 3 body, and run this. There we go. We get our post, and we indeed get a slug that's made from the title. Cool. So that's done. Now, one other thing that I want to show you that's really cool that comes with Strapi is managing media files. So let's say our post, by default, every post has an image that shows at the top of the blog post. So to do that, we could just go to our content type builder and go to our post and just add another field and add this, where is it? This media field. And let's call this image and just say, actually just finish and save. And now if we go to our posts and let's say to this 3, we scroll down, here you see image, and we can actually just click here and click upload assets. And now we can upload any of these images. So I'll select this code image, for example, and say upload one asset and finish. And now if we click save, there we go. We get this image and it's attached to this post. And if we go back to Insomnia and let's say we want to fetch just that post, which is, I think, ID of 3. And we run this. Actually, was it 3? No, it's actually 7. So let's go back here, replace this with 7, run this. There we go, we get this image object, and it's this huge object with a lot of details about the image. As you see here, there are multiple formats of this image, and there's a URL, yeah, here. So there's this URL, so we can copy this URL and go back to our browser. And if we go here and just paste that here after the base URL, and we hit enter, there we go, we get this image, and it's actually uploaded. We can use it in our front end, and everything is already implemented. So that's an amazing thing that it handles file uploads that easily, just out of the box. And if you go actually to the public folder, to uploads, you see that we have our image, our original image, and we have multiple versions of it depending on the screen size, which is really nice actually. It's a nice image optimization for our front-end experience, which is another big plus. Now, I will spare you the rest of the endpoints because it gets a bit repetitive. You can go ahead and check out the endpoints for creating. Oh, but we already did that. You can check updating and deleting. And by the way, right now it's you can delete any user's post as long as you're logged in, which obviously is not the intended behavior. So you can actually go and implement these and make sure that doesn't happen. So that's maybe homework for you, I guess. Now, one other important thing that I wanted to show you is that Strapi is highly customizable in terms of settings as well. So for example, if you go to, what do we have? So we have this config folder. So if you go to this server, you can customize on which port it runs, and you can customize on which host. So I believe, yeah, so we have this env.example, and you can grab all of this and create an actual .env, which by default is not tracked by Git, of course. And you paste those in. Let's say I want to change this to 5000, which is where I usually have my servers running at. So if we open our terminal, break out of it and run it again, it will now run it on 5000. There we go. So localhost 5000. And we can also configure. So let's see what do we have. Is it in extensions? Yeah, extensions, user permissions, JWT. We can configure the actual JWT secret by setting the JWT environment variable in the .env. And here you see it has this auto-generated UUID as a default, which obviously will never match any other person's app, which straight away works, I guess. And you can also add here an expires in, because it uses a JSON web token in the background. So let's say if you want your tokens to expire in let's say 1 hour, you just say 1H there, and that's done. And actually right now, all of the data is stored in this, where is it? Yeah, in this data.db, because if you look at the package JSON, it by default installs SQLite and stores all the data inside the directory here, inside of this data.db SQLite DB file. Now, of course, you can as well customize this. So actually, let me show you. So let's stop this. And shame that this database.js doesn't have a documentation link. They can do that because they have a great page here. Where is it? So I think, no, not admin panel. Is it content API? No, concepts. Okay, it has to be in guides. Yes, right here. So database. Okay, that took some time. So here it tells you about how the database by default works. And here you can go to SQL databases and configure it. And of course, you can configure it with MongoDB. So I just want to configure it with Postgres just to show you how easily that can be done. So you go to configuration section here. As you see, this is the database.js that we were editing. And to connect to an external database, we have to add these fields, of course, the credentials for the database like host, port, database, username, and so on. So we can add them here. I'm actually just going to duplicate this once. So instead of a file name and the client SQLite, I'm going to change this client to Postgres. Or actually, we can make it come from the environment as well. So we have this nice env helper, which either takes the env variable from the .env or has this fallback value. So here we can say env, give the actual key. So this will be in our env file. We'll call it db_client. Otherwise, it's going to be by default Postgres. In this example, close that. And we don't need this file name thing. So I'm just going to remove it and maybe duplicate this a couple of times. So we'll have host. So I'm going to control D here, say host. Oops. Host, and maybe give this a default value of 127.0.0.1 and select this will be the username. I'll leave that the default Postgres, and control D here, select this will be the password. Maybe let's say secret. Of course, these fallbacks are meant to fail if you don't set the .env variables. So we'll have the actual database name. So here say database. What else do we need? Yeah, actually we need schema, which by default is, actually it doesn't have a default value, but we'll set a default value. So what else? Actually, yeah, we need a port as well. So let's duplicate this, and this will be port. And by default, the default Postgres port is 5432. And this last one is the schema, which we can just say it's public. Or actually select these and Alt and select all of these. These need to be uppercase, so let's say transform to uppercase, save, and now let's go to our, I'm just going to copy one of them, go to .env. Actually, I'm not going to override the client because it's Postgres, that's fine. I'm going to override the username. Of course, here put your credentials. For me, it's classed, and then we're going to have a db password, which is root, and a db database, which I'm going to create now. I'm going to call it Strapi underscore starter. Let me see, do we need anything else? The default here is fine, here is fine. The host, that's localhost, that's okay. All right, so I think this is enough. All right, so I'm gonna open the terminal. Having Postgres installed, I'm just gonna say create db and say strapi underscore starter and put my password. Cool, the database is created. I'm actually just gonna connect to it. psql-d strapi underscore starter, put my password. And if we do \d, of course we have no relations yet, but okay, if you open a new terminal and say npm run dev, okay, we need to install pg for it to be able to interact with the Postgres database. And now we do npm run dev. And there we go. It asks us to create an admin again because all of that data is gone, of course, because we're using a different database now. So I'm going to create that admin again. admin@email.com, put a password, hit enter, and there we go. You see our collection types are still here, but of course they're empty, but the structure is still here. It's maintained. It's part of the code base. And if we go to our settings, I believe our settings, I think they're reset. Yeah, our settings reset because the settings are stored in the database, which is where you want them to be, because you don't want to edit code just to say change settings. All right, so I'm just going to enable, so this is the public. We're going to enable find one, find, and count for post. Ignore tags, you can do that if you want. That was just to demonstrate to you like the admin panel. So I'm going to save here, and then we go back to roles, go to authenticated, and enable everything for post, and save. And now if we go to Insomnia, actually I'm going to edit the environment and change the base URL to localhost 5000 because I changed that in the .env. Now if we run read, we should get an empty list. Okay, we'll get 401. Okay, because the user is not found. Okay. All right, we need to, actually, this will be a good time to show you the register. Let's duplicate this. Of course, because you can register using the API as well. So I'll call this register, and this will be /auth/local/register. And if you want to know more about the auth routes, just Google Strapi users permissions routes, and you'll find the answer. And here to register, we're going to give an email, and I'm going to leave that email as it is. And we need a username, and that will be John, and that password just once, and run this. And there we go. Our user is registered and actually just instantly logged in, which is pretty cool. So if we take this JWT token and we go to read, okay, this should actually work. Okay, cool. Okay, what didn't work earlier? Oh, okay, my bad. It was the authorization system. We edited that. All right, so we have no posts, and we can go here and paste that token and create another post. I'll just say again, first post, run that. Cool, we get a post, a slug attached to that user. And if we go to read, of course, that post is there. And now everything is in the database. And if we go to our database, we do \dt, we see all of those tables created for us. You can even check the posts. So select star from posts. Our posts are there. That's how easy it is to actually connect it to another database. This is just the beginning, and this is just the basics of this. Of course, you can extend it to do anything that you want for your app, and you can customize anything. You can even customize the actual auth routes. Just you can go here, extensions, user permissions, and you can override those controller actions as well. Now, I love this tool. As you can see, we did so much. If we were to do this without Strapi, with just connecting libraries together and creating all of this, it will take way longer than this. But of course, we'll have some other advantages that we don't have here. Everything is a trade-off, guys. There's no perfect solution. If this matches your app, it matches your requirements for your project, then by all means, use it. If not, use something else. Always use the right tool for the job. All right, so that's it for this one. Please do make sure to like this video, and of course subscribe if you haven't. And let me know in the comments if you're excited about Strapi, if you're actually going to build something with it, and maybe if you're interacted with it, what you like or what you dislike about it. Let me know in the comments. I read every single comment, even though I don't reply to everyone. I do try, but hey, I'm only one person. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.